Economics. Okay, this Keynesian theory of economics is very important. Okay, in today's class, we will discuss about the Keynesian theory of output and employment theory, or Keynesian theory of income and employment theory. Okay, the Keynesian theory of income and employment, or output employment theory. Before Keynes, we know that Keynes is called father of macroeconomics. Before J.M. Keynes, the economics was discussed by many people like Alfred Marshall, like Adam Smith, Robbins, Paul Samuelson. Like that, the many people, they discussed about the economics, but mainly that is regarding the related to microeconomics. But after 1930s, when there was a great economic crisis occurred, it was affected by all the countries, or directly or indirectly. After the effect of that economic crisis, the economic theories focus was shifted from the microeconomics point of view to macroeconomics point of view. Among them, the J.M. Keynes was the one of the most important person. Okay, the J.M. Keynes is one of the most important person among the persons. That we can see. Okay, here, before this J.M. Keynes, the employment and output theories were there. Income and output theories were there. But the theories were developed by classical people, classical economists. Whatever the classical economics developed the employment theory, that was criticized by J.M. Keynes. And after the critics of the classical theory, the J.M. Keynes was developed alternative theory for the classical theories. So, like when we are talking about the Keynesian theory, what is the main important focus of the Keynesian theory? What are the fundamentals of the Keynesian economic theory? Okay, in the Keynesian economic theory, you can say that the Keynes critic of the classical theories, like, so already I told you, according to classical economic theory, there was a classical economic theory. Classical theory. Okay, they were developed by most of the people, and one of the person was called J.B. Say. Maybe it is known as markets, J.B. Say markets theory. But all the classical theory, they assumed that before the development of the theory, they developed theory based on the assumption that all the countries were in the full employment. That is their assumption. But in the reality, we know that no country was achieved the full employment. Developed countries like America, maybe Japan, Germany, England, that countries are also not achieved the full employment. But the classical theories developed based on the assumption that, what is their assumption? Their assumption that the countries achieved the full employment theory, full employment. Based on that, they developed the theory. Okay, that Keynesian economics was criticized the classical economic theories, like Keynesian critics of the classical theories, like attack on the self-regulation of the market. Okay, the classical theories will explain that. JBC market theories explain that always there will be full employment in the country. If there is underemployment in the temporary because of some problems, if the unemployment was created in the country for the temporary basis, then automatically with self-regulation based on the demand and supply adjustment, based on the market forces adjustment, this the economy again going for the full employment. So like that, therefore the self-regulation of the market was there. For that one, the government interference was required according to the classical theory. That was criticized by the J.M. Keynes. Whenever there is a mismatch of demand and supply, between demand and supply, when there is a market inequilibrium, the government is required, government interference is required to bring that inequilibrium. Okay, to bring out from that inequilibrium. So that self-regulation was criticized by the J.M. Keynes and developed the concept that regulatory bodies are required for the equilibrium of the economy. And classical dichotomy was criticized, and full employment equilibrium concept was criticized. Keynesian theory always will explain that there is underemployment in the country. Okay, no full employment in the country. Always there will be underemployment in the country. So that is what Keynes focused. But the classical theory focused that there will be full employment in the country. Okay, the Keynes theory, by criticizing the classical theories on the above backgrounds, he developed alternative systems. Alternative things he was developing. Like the Keynes theory mainly focused on the effective demand, Sardaka demand, effective demand, and the Keynes also focused on the consumption function. The Keynes also focused on the multiplier concept. The Keynes also focused on the rate of interest, that is a liquidity preference theory, and is also focused on the investment theories like marginal efficiency of the capital. Okay, marginal efficiency of the capital, which is called MEC. And like that, he was developed many theories. Okay, James Keynes was developed many theories, many concepts. But of course, among them, the concept of the effective demand is very, very important concept. Even though it was developed many theories, effective demand is very, very important topic. So in today's class, we will try to discuss on the effective demand. That is income and employment theory. Okay, Keynes criticized on the classical theory, already told you. J.M. Keynes, in his book, what is his book? The General Theory of Employment and Interest and Money, which was written in 1936. So in that book, he was discussing all aspects. He was discussing many aspects. Okay, discussing so many things. Discussing so many things was discussed. So that's why that book was called simply General Theory. Full name was General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money, but comprehensively it was called General Theory. Okay, it was written in 1936. In that book, he was attacked on the classical theory. He was criticized on the classical theory on background that attacked the classical theory on many grounds, like self-regulation concept was criticized, full employment concept was criticized. According to the classical theory, supply creates its own demand. That was the classical theory. But by criticizing that concept, James Keynes told that demand creates its own supply. Classical theory explained that supply creates its own demand. Supply creates the demand for the production. But James Keynes is saying that demand creates its own supply. So the supply creates its own demand. Saving, investment, long run, perfect competition market. All this concept was there in the Sartre classical theory, but all these things was criticized by the James Keynes. After the criticizing the James Keynes all these theories, he was trying to develop the alternative concept, alternative theories. Like after this attacking all this one, okay, Keynes finally came with a new theory called Keynesian theory of income and employment. So in that particular point, you focus on the concept of the effective demand concept. Okay, during the 1930s, okay, the Great Economic Depression started and unemployment became a normal situation. Okay, in every country, it became a normal phenomenon. More unemployment was created because of that economic depression or the crisis. Okay, the full employment equilibrium was not restored. Whatever the classical theories told that, generally, according to the classical theory, always there will be full employment in the country. If there is any problem, in the short run, unemployment may be created, but with self-regulation, demand and supply, by creating the supply its own demand, automatically, again the full employment will be restored. That is the concept of the classical theory. But after 1930s, their concept was not implemented. Okay, not restored. So that the full employment equilibrium was not restored automatically as assumed by the classical economists. So whatever the classical economics assumed, that was not restored. So that's why that theory was a failure. So in that one, he was criticized that theory. Okay, the James Keynes criticized the classical theory and developed the new theory. Okay, they developed new theory and introduced many concepts. The James Keynes was introducing many concepts in the macroeconomics. Okay, that theories may be called effective demand. Okay, propensity to consume. Okay, consumption function, multiplier concept, marginal efficiency of capital, which is called MEC, liquidity preference theory, which is called interest theory, consumption function, saving function, employment theory, investment theory, aggregate demand, aggregate supply, effective demand. Like that, the many concept was developed by James Keynes in 1936 in his own book called The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money. Okay, in that particular book, so he was developed the many concepts. But even though he was developing many concepts like this, among them, this concept of the effective demand is very, 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 very important. Okay, the concept of the effective demand is very important. So what is effective demand? So today class on effective demand. That is income and employment theory. Okay, effective demand means The effective demand is the main important concept in the Keynesian theories. So it developed many theories. Among them, the effective demand is very important concept. According to Keynes, that is according to J.M. Keynes, unemployment results from the deficiency of the effective demand. Okay, according to J.M. Keynes, why there will be unemployment in the country? Unemployment is the result of the effective demand, deficiency of the effective demand, lack of effective demand. When there is a effective demand, lack of effective demand, or deficiency of the effective demand, automatically unemployment will be generated. So if you don't want unemployment, if you want employment generation, if we want to create the full employment, for the creation of the full employment in the country, the effective demand should not be deficiency. Okay, that's why. So according to Keynes, unemployment results from the deficiency of the effective demand, and the employment level can be increased by increasing the level of effective demand. Okay, as I said already, unemployment, cause for the unemployment in the country is deficiency of the effective demand. So to increase the employment level in the country, to achieve the full employment, the effective demand concept should be enhanced, should be increased. So the effective demand is the backbone of the Keynesian employment theory. Okay, our concept is Keynesian theory of employment, output theory. For the Keynesian theory of employment and output theory, the effective demand is the backbone. That means the effective demand concept is very important to discuss the Keynesian theory of employment. So it is described as a backbone to the Keynesian employment theory. So what is effective demand? Since it is a backbone to the employment theory of Keynes, we will try to understand what is effective demand. So yeah, effective demand, it is to indicate the total demand for goods and services at various levels of the employment in the country. So at various levels of the employment, how much income will be there for the people, and based on the income, how much they are spending to purchase goods and services, which is called a demand system, demand level. So that's why effective demand is going to explain the various levels of the quantity of demand for the goods and services in the given employment, or in the various levels of the employment is known as the effective demand. A different level of employment represents the aggregate demand. Okay, in each and every point, in each and every level of the employment, there will be demand. That demand will called aggregate demand. Okay, aggregate the demand. So there will be level of employment where aggregate demand equal to aggregate supply, and this will be known as the effective demand. So effective demand nothing but where aggregate demand will be equal to aggregate supply. That concept is known as the effective demand. Okay, Telugu Sardhaka demand antaru, which is called effective demand. So according to J.M. Keynes, the value of aggregate demand, or the point of aggregate demand function where it is intersected by the aggregate supply function will be called the effective demand. Generally, the effective demand curve will be like this. Aggregate demand. The aggregate supply curve will be like that. This is called aggregate supply. Where the aggregate demand and aggregate supply get the equilibrium, so that is known as the effective demand concept that we will discuss. Okay, like aggregate demand price, aggregate demand function. Because if we want to know the effective demand, we are saying that where aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply, that is known as the effective demand. So that's why to understand the effective demand, first of all, we have to know that what is aggregate demand and what is aggregate supply. What is aggregate demand? This is known as aggregate demand price, aggregate demand function also. Okay, the aggregate demand price is the amount of money which the entrepreneurs expect to get by selling the output produced by the number of men employed. So here, the selling the output produced by the number of men employed. How many people were employed? Based on that employment, how much production was produced, and that production, how much it is selling to ready, is known as the aggregate demand. Otherwise, we can say it is the expected revenue from the sale of output produced at a particular level of employment. After selling the production, how much revenue they are expecting in each and every level of employment. In each and every level of employment, how much income, how much revenue they are expecting. That revenue means selling. Okay, selling nothing but purchasing. The other people are purchasing. So the purchasing or selling, that revenue is known as the what is called aggregate demand. The aggregate demand price or aggregate demand function or schedule shows the various aggregate demand prices at a different level of the employment. It shows that the aggregate demand price rises with the increase the level of employment. If the level of employment increases, the production increases. Production increases, automatically revenue also increases. We know that. Okay, so the level of employment increases and declines at a lower level of the employment. More employment, more aggregate demand. Less employment, less aggregate demand. So it will explain with D is a function of N. N means number of employment, total employment. D means aggregate demand. Aggregate demand is depending on the level of employment. If the level of employment increases, the aggregate demand also increases. If the level of employment increases, the aggregate demand also going to be decreases. Okay, where the demand is aggregate demand, F is a functional relation between demand and N is a level of employment, we can say. So like that, aggregate supply. Aggregate demand is one concept and aggregate supply is one concept. Where the both are going to get the equilibrium, that is known as the effective demand, we can know. What is aggregate demand? What is aggregate supply? It is known as aggregate supply price, aggregate supply function, aggregate supply schedule also. And each level of employment involves a certain amount of money covering the cost or production, including the normal profits, which the entrepreneur must get back. Okay, when the producer is producing the goods and services, he is investing money. When he is investing money, each and every person will try to get a minimum profit at least. So minimum income level of the income at least. Okay. So that is entrepreneur will expect minimum normal income, at least minimum income. That is called normal profit. At any given level of employment, aggregate supply price is the total amount of money which all the entrepreneurs in the economy expect to receive from the sale of output produced at the given level of the employment. So after the selling the in production, expecting the minimum profit is in each and every level of the employment is going to be discussed in the part of the, so what is called aggregate supply price. The aggregate supply price schedule or function or price shows the various aggregate supply price at the different levels of the employment. Generally, you know that aggregate supply price rises when the increase in the level of the employment. Employment increases automatically, you will try to expect more profits also. That's why the level of profit also will be increases. That is, supply will increases. Okay, so that's why. So it will explain the S is a function of N, where is S nothing but aggregate supply. F is nothing but a functional relation between supply and level of employment, and N is a level of employment which was employed in the country. Okay, so we discussed what is aggregate demand and what is aggregate supply. Where the aggregate demand and aggregate supply will get the equilibrium, there the effective demand will be decided. That is the determination of the effective demand and employment. Where the effective demand will be decided, so there the level of employment will be decided. Level of output will be decided. Output and employment will be get the equilibrium. Okay, the level of employment and output in the economy is determined at the point where aggregate demand price is equal to aggregate supply price. That is called effective demand. Okay, there the level of output and employment will be decided. So it is the point where the entrepreneurs expect to receive the equal what they must be received and their profits are maximized. This point is called effective demand. And here the entrepreneurs earn the normal profits generally. Okay, as long as the ADP, that is aggregate demand price, is higher than the aggregate supply price. Okay, as aggregate demand price is more than the aggregate supply price, as long as this one. Okay, as long as the aggregate demand price is higher than the aggregate supply price, the prospects of the getting profits are greater when the additional workers are employed. Okay, as long as our demand is more than the supply, the producer will try to get more profits. That's why he will try to increase the production. To increase his production, automatically he will offer the more employment. That means level of employment will be increased. Okay, that is. And this process will continue till ADP is equal to ASP. Okay, that is aggregate demand price is equal to aggregate supply price. And the point of effective demand is not necessarily a full employment equilibrium, but of underemployment equilibrium. So where the effective demand, where the aggregate demand price and aggregate supply price will get the equilibrium, that may be known as the effective demand. So in that point, level of employment will be decided, but that level of employment may not be required, may not be necessary full employment. Okay, there the employment will get the equilibrium. That equilibrium point may not be full employment. Okay, that is may not be full employment. This process, okay. So the point of effective demand is not necessary full employment equilibrium, but under the employment equilibrium. Okay, this is the example. Okay, this is the employment. When the zero employment was there, zero production. That's why zero income, zero demand and zero supply. Whenever the employment is increasing, the aggregate demand is increasing like that. Aggregate demand is increasing. Whenever the aggregate supply also increasing, okay, level of the employment increases, aggregate demand increases, automatically aggregate supply also increases. So where at the point of 30 lakhs employment, the aggregate demand was 300 crores, aggregate supply also 300 crores. Their aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply, which is known as the effective demand. Before that, see here, the demand is 100 crores, but supply is only 50 crores. Means the people are expecting 100 crores worth of the commodities in the market they are ready to purchase. That is the demand. 100 crores worth of demand was there in the market. But whereas the production and the supply was there only 50 crores worth. Since people are demanding more number of commodities, what the producer will do? He will mobilize the resources and he will try to increase his production. To increase his production, automatically the employment level will be increased. So that's why employment will be increased like that. So yeah, after this effective demand, the demand is only 400 crores worth, 4,000 crores worth. People are ready to purchase only 4,000 commodities, but 400 commodities, but the supply was 425 crores. The demand is less than the supply. The remaining 25 crores worth of goods will be waste. That's why the no producer will try to increase his production. So if the production will not increase, automatically level of employment will not be increased. So there, even though there are people are ready to work, even though there is unemployment in the country, the firm entrepreneur will not encourage to employ in this company. So there the production will be stopped. So this concept is known as the effective demand. Okay, there the employment will be decided. This much production will be decided in the company. That is output, this is employment. Okay, this will be explained in this diagram. Okay, this is called aggregate demand. AD, aggregate demand. This is known as the aggregate supply curve. Okay, aggregate supply curve, AS. So originally, the aggregate demand, aggregate supply was got the equilibrium at the point E. This is the level of employment. This much people were employed in the company. Okay, at this point, this much was the production there in the company. So at OM, production was there. This is the level of employment. This is the level of output. Okay, here, if the demand increases, automatically the supply will increase up to here. So there we will get the equilibrium. If no demand, supply may not be increased. Okay, so there the employment will be decided. That may be underemployment. That may not be full employment. Okay, this is the concept of the here E, here E1. So these are called what is called effective demand. E nothing but here effective demand. Where the effective demand will be decided, there the level of employment will be decided. Okay, level of employment will be decided. At this level of employment, how much production was there in the company? That is known as the level of output. Okay, like that, level of employment, level of output will be decided in the company. Okay, that employment may be underemployment. Okay, the equilibrium level of the employment is determined by the intersection of the AS, aggregate supply, and AD. AD means aggregate demand curves. This point is called effective demand. Corresponding to the point, OLE workers are employed. So this much employment was there. And the OL1 level of the employment expected to receive to exceed the necessary cost by the amount of the RC. Okay, recurring services. Entrepreneurs will go on hiring more labor till the OLE level of the employment is reached when the aggregate demand is increased. At this level of the employment, entrepreneurs' expectations of the profits are maximized. Employment beyond OLE is unprofitable. Okay, if the company will provide employment more than OLE, that is not profitable. Since it is not profitable, entrepreneur will not entertain. So there you will get the equilibrium. So because it will exceed the revenue. So that is what he was explained is his concept. Okay, you have any doubt, please ask me on this theory.
Hello, sir.
Hello, tell me.
Sir, give me some important questions, sir.
Okay, so
Hello, sir. Is this our last class?
Yes.
yeah, online it is last class.
Okay, sir.
Okay.